Hello and welcome to another episode of Brit Does Baseball Does podcast. It's me and Gaz here today. How you doing, Gaz?
I'm good. It's been a while, George. It's been I think you were last on with me a few weeks ago on the Rounders Roundup. What have you been up to in the last couple of weeks?
Oh, it's been actually a period of my life not watching a lot of baseball. I think some of that is down to circumstance, just being busy when baseball is on, and part of that is just really not wanting to spend a lot of time watching the Mets.
It's
So
been a good time then, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been some respite. But yeah, more than happy to be back on the podcast. I've missed that if I haven't missed baseball. Yeah.
Well, cool. We're always here. We try and do 2 episodes a week, so feel free to stop by on some other episodes. It'd be great. We just had our anniversary show as well. If you've not caught that yet, fans, and it's on our Spotify and Apple and all that. So we're now officially into year 2 of the Brit Does Baseball Does podcast. And obviously we also missed out a week's worth of Rounders Roundup. So we've got a jam-packed one for you today.
Yeah, no, a lot has happened. This time of year is definitely news season, I would say. So to kick it off, I think it's probably right that we cover the most, recent bit of news, which is the All-Star lineups. I think nothing too crazy happened, but there are definitely some snubs and some things that are unexpected. I mean, pretty obvious stuff. Shohei, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, Jordan Alvarez is having a great year. But was there anything that jumped out to you, Gaz?
So this is like the third week we've spoken about the All-Star because we had the whole fan voting situation, which me and Cal kind of just both said it's not a great way of picking the starters, right? I will say I believe Vladdy won the first baseman starting for the AL and then decided to sit out. And I think, props to him because he wasn't an all-star this year. And I think he knew that. So I'm quite impressed with him, being the guy to kind of like not go. A few things stood out for me. Sonny Gray on the pitching side in the American League, second in ERA just to Cam Schlittler, who's probably going to win the Cy Young. Didn't make it. Will he come in as a late replacement potentially? PCA should have been in a fan vote and he wasn't, but he's made it. It's just, the Dodgers I think have 5 again. Max Muncy's an all-star for the first time in 5 years. I was shocked that Bryce Harper's an all-star. I'll be honest with you. I didn't see that one coming. What about you? Any shocks on your side?
I think with Bryce, it's not even so much that like he's been like exceptional this year, but I think it's that he's had a bit of a bounce back and like kind of dovetailing nicely with Schwarber, where people are kind of talking about them. They've really turned their season around as well, so people are just kind of thinking about him. But yeah, I think Zach Wheeler missing out is a really crazy one, just because he's been so good this year, and I think his agent even came out and said, like, how has he not made the All-Star game? Which is crazy. Bryce Terang as well, I think, was left out, and he's been pretty great this year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures on the American League. There's some nice names here. Parker Messick for the Guardians, I know was having a good year. Brian Baker was good for the Rays. I'm really happy that Dylan Cease has made it. I think he's had a really good season for the Blue Jays, whilst they've been quite bad. So it's nice to see that that he's finally it's his first All-Star selection. I'd have thought he'd have had one by now.
That is surprising.
Yeah, Cam Schlittler, obviously, as we mentioned. Louis Varland, again, has had like a sub-1 ERA for the Blue Jays for most of the year. On the National League side, Johan Duran for the Phillies. It's his first one. It was nice to see Max Meyer get it for the Marlins. Sorry, I'm just reading out the list here. And as you said, like, no Zach Wheeler's a bit of a weird one. I think my favorite one though is Eduardo Rodriguez for the Diamondbacks finally getting the All-Star nod after like 9 years in the game. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really nice. I think there's like a weird bit of timing whenever this happens in the year, because you see guys like Ben Rice and Cody Bellinger who like have obviously been incredible to start the year, and then they get their all-star place in the middle of like these massive slumps. And at the same time, guys who are like suddenly pitching really well, like missing it, like maybe actually not after last night, but Brazaban on the Mets, who has like lowered his ERA to a career low, another old guy who, you know, maybe could have made it, but wasn't good enough for the first couple months. So yeah, it's always a funny one. It's always a funny one. And I think a lot of guys who, again, are going to have their trade value bumped by inclusion on these lists, people like Logan Webb, maybe.
I mean, just shout out to like some of the rookies that made it on. So Travis Bazana, Kevin McGonigal. I know there's a couple of others that I'm missing out here. I'm trying to think of other debutants. Chase Burns, I think this is his first real year in the league. Cam Schlittler's technically still a rookie. There's a nice number of like new guys. I think there are 26 first-time All-Stars, which is great. It does lead to the argument, should there be that many All-Stars? Should it be more of like a selective bunch? And I'm not going to go into the whole fan voting debacle because I think people know my view on this point by now. Just so we cover off our bases, are you a fan of the current system, the way it works with the fan votes?
In results, no. So probably no, because when somebody like you said earlier, like Vladdy gets in over Nick Kurtz, who's having a crazy year, it does feel a bit like, okay, what are we doing here? It's just a popularity contest. But I do think they do it better than maybe sports like the NBA or the NFL. Just in terms of like every team has a player, you know, it becomes an event. People actually, I think, care and watch the home run derby. Yeah. Whereas the Pro Bowl in the NFL is just a joke these days. Like nobody cares about it.
Again, we discussed this. I like the Pro Bowl games. I think it's great. Okay. Just because I enjoy watching flag football. But baseball is better because obviously whoever wins the All-Star game gets home advantage in the World Series, which I think is always like it is something to play for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just haven't gotten into that. I like in some of the individual ones, like where they have to do the throwing, like the quarterback one. But then when it's like who can play dodgeball, it's like, okay, I don't need to watch dodgeball this weekend.
Yeah, I get the point. But yeah, it's All-Star season. We're a week away from it. I can't wait to have a few days off of the Cubs. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Do we have a confirmed list yet of who's taking part in the home run derby? Because I think Bryce Harper said he would only do it if he could find somebody to throw him the ball, which
I haven't seen anything as we sit here on the 6th of July, home run derby 2026 participants.
I think Junior Caminera is doing it. I think I saw that because he's been on a crazy run.
Yeah, Junior Caminera is the only person to have only one to have agreed to join it so far.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, just Junior Caminera. I know that PCA won't be doing it. I can tell you that much. He's come out and said that, and I think, as you said, Harper will come out if he can find someone to pitch to him, which can't be hard because I'm pretty sure loads of people can throw baseballs.
I saw a tweet from a Mets fan saying if Harper wants somebody to throw the ball to hit home runs reliably, pick any of the Mets starting pitchers, which is fair enough.
You say that. We obviously took David Peterson from you. It's been that long, that trade we just haven't spoke about.
Yeah, and, that's true.
I remember you messaged me going, "Oh, we are like overpaid, underpaid, what we got?" And I'm like, "You've got yourself like a decent Cubs prospect." And then David Peterson was serving up meatballs at the weekend at Cardinals. So who knows? Maybe Peterson will be out of work by that point.
I had faith for that trade on your side, and maybe that was just because I really liked David Peterson. He was, a homegrown guy, a guy I really respected, and he's a ground ball pitcher. And with the Cubs infield, I thought it might work out. But
yeah, the issue is he's just chucking stuff middle at like 85 miles per hour. So it's not going on the ground. It's quite literally in the air. It was over the 4th of July weekend. It was fireworks, just the wrong thing. But anyway, we can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll touch then next on something I was genuinely horrified by yesterday. Watching baseball until I saw the context, which was Marlins pulling Yuri Perez 7 perfect innings into his game. And then immediately Luke Beckar came in and gave up a grand slam and they almost lost that game. I was genuinely, I felt so like, how on earth do you pull a guy after 7 perfect innings? But I hadn't realized that he was coming off of an injury. and this was only his third start after coming off IL. But I still think I'm against. I think it's just so rare that you have to let the guy try.
Yeah, he was on 93. If I've read it right, he was on 93 pitches after 7 perfect innings. I think I don't know how much the player had to play in it. He might have turned around and said, "You're right, take me out." But if I'm the pitching coach, I'm saying, don't take a couple of miles off the fastball, take it a little bit easier. If they happen to hit themselves into outs, then go as far as you can. Because realistically, if you just serve up some meatballs, worst comes to worst, you give up a home run, then you get taken out of the game anyway. So I would have liked to have seen him continue. I understand it from a player welfare perspective, and the Marlins are actually having a very good year. They're like 7 or 8 games over 500. They want to be competitive. I get it, but we haven't had a perfect game since Domingo Germán for the Yankees, and I mean, from what we need a new one since then. Domingo Germán is very irrelevant right now. We need someone to. It's been a couple of years as well. We just need another perfect game. They don't happen too often. I would have loved to see him go longer. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm against that. I wasn't a fan of that decision by Clayton McCullough.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, yeah, I get the Marlins want to be competitive this year, but like they were 9-up, and even with the relievers trying to blow the game, they still won it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of didn't strike. And he did. I saw some quotes after the game where he came out and said, I'm proud of the manager. Like it looks bad from the outside, but like I'm proud of the coach. Like I understand why they did it. So he's clearly being very gracious. But I bet if you got him privately, he'd be like, I wish I could have kept pitching.
Yeah, of course you were. Like I get it. Also, it was his third start off of the IL, which I don't know what the injury was. He must have had a rehab assignment. You'd expect like the third or fourth start, you'd be back up to like your maximum. So, first start, maybe you get to like 70 pitches, second start, 85, third start, I'd expect to around that 100 mark. So it's a tough one. You then, if there's like a 10 pitch at bat or something, and even if you get the out, I get it. I really do. But yeah, I like I said, I'm against it. I think you're against it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, he could have given a home run up anyway. But yeah, we'll never know. But I mean, if he can be a guy, and Sandy Alcantara has looked okay this year, on and off, maybe they could do something. I mean, I think it's cool that the Marlins and the Rays are both relevant again after some years where they weren't.
Yeah, it's been a good time for Florida teams, and I like the Rays. I don't like the Rays Stadium, but I like the Rays. I think they're a fun team. I can't say I particularly like the Marlins or the way that they run, but same time, sorry, if you hear a dog in the background, that's not Boo, that is my neighbours. I'm currently dog sitting for my parents, so you might hear some dogs in the background. Yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of the Rays. I'm glad they're having a good year. The Marlins, they're a good young team. I still struggle with the way they're modeled. They could have pushed forward in the early 2000s and really pushed and got another World Series, but they went all in. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's nice for the fan bases. I don't like to see teams struggle for prolonged periods of time. It's not nice.
No, I mean, and with this Marlins ownership and structure as well, even though they are, X number of games above 500, you wouldn't put it past them to sell at the deadline just because of the way they run their team and their operation, which is so sad for those fans. It's like, what are you rooting for?
But, yeah, it's like Max Meyer makes his first All-Star game, and then he's shipped off to the Phillies.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, we should have seen the perfect game. Maybe next time. Next up on the topics is the Yankee slide. Now, this one does bring me a bit more joy, I have to say. as a fan of a team who has experienced a slide, I'm happy to see it happen to somebody else, especially the Yankees. Dropped 13 of their last 17 games and haven't scored more than 5 runs in any of those games. Ben Rice and Cody Bellinger look cold, having started the year so well, and obviously without Aaron Judge, there is nobody really to lift them off the deck.
What's their record currently? Because they were smashing. I've only literally bbeen watching Cubs the last 2 weeks, aside from when I've legally obligated, have to look to other teams for the roundup.
They are, I believe. Let me see if I've got this right. They are 48 and 37. I believe, at the moment. So I mean, that's not a bad record, but they were way out in front in the AL East, and now it's looking a bit more competitive.
Yeah, it's a shame because, well, it's not a shame because it's the Yankees. So I don't know why I started that sentence by saying it's a shame. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the other teams because the Rays have also been on a bit of a slump recently, if I'm not mistaken. The Blue Jays almost got to 500, and then lost like 6 games at home in a row. But it makes that division a bit more competitive. It does also, a whole argument that we probably need to do this on an episode. It's why is the American League so shit? Like it's terrible. Like you have the Rays and the Yankees, who I think have been above 500 for most of the year. And then it's like, the Rangers are winning the American League West with a losing record at some point. The AL Central is a bit of fun this year, I will say. The White Sox have been very fun to watch. But it's just so mid, and you compare it to the National League, and it's like the West, okay, you got the Rockies and the Giants, but the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Padres up till recently, and the Dodgers are obviously smashing it. In the Central, you had so many teams that were over 500 for most of the year. I think all bar Cincinnati still are. And in the East, you've got the Phillies have come back into it. The Marlins are 7 games over 500. The Braves have been great all year. The Nationals are even above 500. And then the Mets exist. But I guess what I'm saying is it's like the National League is just so much more competitive than the American League in general. And it's like if you put the Cubs in the AL Central, they would smash that division. Likewise, if you put the Mets in probably not the AL East because that's historically a good division, but you stick them in the West or the Central, they're probably going to be top.
Yeah, which is saying something.
Yeah, it's just how bad they are. But yeah, back to the Yankees. I like to see teams slide when you feel like they need it. I like Ben Rice as well. I think he'll come from the slump. But it just goes to show how big a player Aaron Judge is for them, especially when Stanton's also on the injured list and he hasn't appeared in a game in a while now.
Yeah, I have to correct my stats as well. I was way off. They are 49-40.
Oh, okay.
So 9 games above, and they are trailing the Rays by 4 games in the division. So it has been a proper slide. They've been 1-9 in their last 10, as opposed to the Rays who've gone 8-2. But like you're saying, I mean, it's close divisions throughout all of the American League, but not because these two teams are particularly good in any division. It's just because they're all kind of struggling to get away from one another. Whereas like you said, in the National League, the Phillies have really come back and are now only 2 games behind the Braves, which will be really exciting, I think, by the end of the year.
Yeah, did you see, just before we move on from the Yankees, did you see the quote from Aaron Boone in the week where it was like, that's just what we do, we're the Yankees, and it was after they'd lost?
No, I didn't see that.
It said it in I can't remember if it was out of context. It probably was out of context, but he basically quoted saying, that's just what we do with the Yankees, and they just lost to whoever they lost to that day. Quite funny.
Oh, God. Yeah, that is very Aaron Boone. I could picture him saying it. I mean, I saw a lot of quotes from Aaron Judge because there's no timeline, as far as I'm aware, for his return at the moment.
Is it a rib injury? Is that right?
Yeah, rib injury. I saw some quotes from him being like, "We just need to focus on the details and the fundamentals." And it's like, buddy, until you get back, this team's not moving.
What's the fundamentals? Win a game of baseball.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm an MLB manager. God.
Yeah.
That's how low the bar is.
Yeah, it is. We'll get onto that with the Carlos Mendoza news when we get to talk about the Mets later. But the whole concept of what a manager does and how to judge whether somebody's a good manager or not, if teams are winning or losing games, it's so alien to me in this sport compared to any other.
I don't think it can be a barometer. You look at the Giants record, and their manager in football, he'd have been sacked 2 months ago. It's weird, and it's you look at the Phillies when they sacked Rob Thompson and replaced him with Don Mattingly, and all of a sudden they're now 10 games over 500. I can tell you now, Don Mattingly has not done anything to fundamentally change that baseball club.
Yeah,
and they've just gone from shite to great, and it's, I don't know. Sometimes sometimes you do need a voice, and I think there are some cases where the manager does harm the team, but not to the extent of any other sport compared to baseball. Baseball is just, it's, as I said, it's alien to me as well. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It just beyond choosing when to replace pitchers, it's what real decisions can you make out on the field to affect the way your players are playing? There's not really much.
Yeah, and the Cubs have got quite a good manager in Craig Counsell, who's been good recently, but yet he still continues to hit Alex Bregman second, and I can't tell you why he does that. I've got a quick story before, because I know you come with a good list, and I've just got one little story that I just want to pick up on. Some MLB umpires are retiring. It's really nice. Yeah, they've taken they're not retired. Well, they are retiring. They've taken the MLB buyout, which is please leave us and we'll pay you for it. I've got the list of umpires, but on the list are Brian O'Nora. I believe Laz Diaz is also on the list, but 7 of them have taken this payout, and I think it's incredible. So the full names: Laz Diaz, Brian O'Nora, Lance Barksdale, Marvin Hudson, Tony Rendoso, and Andy Fletcher. For me, Laz Diaz is probably the top one on the list of... Oh, and CB Buckner. How could I forget CB Buckner? I was waiting for that. So the worst umpire, in my opinion, since the great Angel Hernandez, CB Buckner is going to be retiring. And I think we should rejoice. I don't know why they've taken the buyout. There's rumors that because of the CBA, delaying the start to next season, they just want, they don't want to be delaying a delayed start to the season. Could just be that the money's all good. I don't know. But 7 long-time umpires to take the payout, it's just skewing a little bit back to not all being old guys over the age of 60, which is great.
Yeah, this is I think trickle down, hopefully, from ABS, just being like, these guys are like, oh, I just don't have it anymore. Maybe, I mean, especially in the case of CB Buckner, and maybe I probably don't recognize half the guys on those lists really, like in terms of their reputation or how good they are, which means they're probably not that bad. But the headline umpires like CB Buckner that you see retiring, it's like, oh, thank God, at least you're getting rid of one of them.
I think if you recognise the name of the umpire, with the exception of someone like Jen Powell, because being the first female, that's historic. If Angel Hernandez, CB Buckner, Laz Diaz, their shit. Like you just know it. Like Angel Hernandez should have retired 10 years ago. CB Buckner, some of his calls this year have just been... Do you remember I think it was the Brewers? Do you remember the first base one where he just called him out because he wasn't looking at the bag? And then the replay is like, no, he was in by a good 5 steps.
Yeah.
Like maybe ABS has gone. I don't even think it's coming at them from us. I think they're so egotistical sometimes. They're not even looking at it going, I haven't got it anymore. It's more, oh, I don't want to be shown up by ABS. That's why I'm stepping back. That's probably more where their head's at.
Especially in the case that there was that CB at bat where he was challenged, what was it, like 3 or 4 times in a row? It was just crazy. Yeah. Well, I won't. It feels really harsh when somebody leaves their jobs to be like good riddance, but it does feel like that a little bit, doesn't it?
Hey, they're so protected by MLB, and I think they can let this one slide. I think we deserve to have a go at them.
Yeah. I won't be sad to see the back of them. Yeah, that's for sure.
Anyway, little tangential there.
No, it's good. It's good news. We're moving on now to I mean, perhaps good news for you, and perhaps bad news for me. It's really hard to tell. There's so many teams in the bubble this year thinking about the trade deadline, who's going to be a buyer and who's going to be a seller. I mean, obviously, the name everybody is thinking about is Tarek Skubal. What's going to happen with that? The Tigers will, I can't imagine they won't move him. What do they gain from not moving him? I don't think they're really competing this year.
Are they still... I remember they went on like a really, really bad record. Again, I've not seen any baseball outside of the Cubs. I'm going to look up the AL standing. Are they now completely out of it?
Yeah, they're 10 games below 500. Right. Although, to be fair, that only puts them 7.5 games back. But, even so, it's not a great position to be in. I think the Mets aren't going to trade for Skubal this year, obviously. I don't know, but just thinking about the teams with the money to give him an extension. The Dodgers can do it because they are paying minor league writers to hype up their farm system year after year. So they have the prospects to do it. The Yankees obviously could. I just can't put my finger on it. I've thought about this. Where's he going to go? And then who's he going to sign within the offseason if they don't get an extension done? But I just can't put my finger on it.
I think we will do a trade deadline special at one point, probably when the All-Star game's over, to like really talk about it. Me and Cal spoke about this like a few weeks ago. And I think I had I said it'd be cool if you went to the Blue Jays because I like the Canadian teams. But I think Cal wanted him to go to the Mariners because they don't have any good starting pitchers. They need a seventh. To be honest, it makes sense if he goes to the Braves. At least trade him there because they could use a little bit of help. Another place where we'd like to see him go was the Brewers because they would turn him into a 4-time Cy Young Award winner in 2 months. He would just win the next 4 Cy Youngs. But yeah, it's a difference between who will trade for him and then who will pay him. Like paying him, that's when I think the Mets could come around and be like, hey, we're going to give you like $500 million just to chill. And I think he will take that. I would like to see him stay at the Tigers, but I don't think they're going to pay him. So it's an intriguing one. It's definitely the biggest question mark of the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you that I would much prefer to see him traded to a team that he's not going to be extended by, just because I think it makes the back half of the year way more interesting if Tarek Skubal's on a legit contender again. And then I just pray to God he doesn't sign with the Dodgers in the offseason. But that might become even more complicated with the potential looming lockout.
Well, maybe they'll try and get him in before, because if they trade for him and then extend him in the season,
yeah, they could avoid the whole thing. But who's the completely blanking on the man who has defined so many off seasons of my life? But who's the super agent that he's with?
Scott Boras.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't let people sign mid-year extensions, does he? I think, but maybe that'll be different with the CBA. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it's. Yeah. I can't, I look through the list now, right, and it's you have the obvious ones. I'm sorry to say it, but the Mets are going to be sellers for what they can sell. Probably Freddie Peralta.
If anyone will take him, he's been so bad recently.
I'd have rather taken him than fucking David Peterson. But anyway,
yeah.
You got the Mets. I can see maybe the Cincinnati Reds moving a couple of pieces. Who with the NL West? I mean, the Rockies. I don't think have anyone to trade. The Giants could look to move. They've already said they're open for business. Rafael Devers. I'd be shocked if anyone takes him. Matt Chapman, Luis Ariz. Then you go to the AL, and honestly, any of the teams could sell in the AL East, aside from the Yankees and the Rays. The Central, the Twins, Byron Buxton. Could they just say, go and win a ring? You've done so much for us. I'd like to see it.
Joe Ryan as well on the Twins, maybe. Could
he's been long rumored. The Marlins will probably sell a pitcher just because that's what the Marlins do. It's a tough one. And then who are really going to be the buyers? Like the Rays are so good, but they don't buy. They're a wheeling and dealing team. In the Central, the Brewers, who are they don't spend money. They'll go get someone obscure and make him an all-star. The Dodgers, I don't see who they need to trade for, but they'll trade for someone, probably a bullpen. Again, I'm just going through the teams in my head. The Cubs need starting pitching. The Phillies, I think, could replace Alec Bohm, or probably should replace Alec Bohm.
Yeah, and I think they'd take another starter just to have one.
Everyone would. The Braves could do with a starter. The Padres need something, because currently with a losing record, they need something to kick starters. It's a really tough one this year.
There's more noise about whether the Padres move pieces just because they're so hard to predict around this time of year. Of whether they would consider moving Mason Miller. That people thought about that in the off season. It seems crazy, but if they decide to, shift their priorities around, then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, with their change in ownership, I think they need to cut costs. So I don't think Mason Miller's that expensive though. So
no,
I don't know. But also, you get back a farm for him. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I think maybe some of those teams hovering, like the Astros have quietly been better recently, and they've kind of gotten themselves back towards 500, and they're only 2.5 games back from the Mariners. So they could, if they have a good month, be buyers at the deadline. Same with the Rangers. Those guys do and can spend, when the Brewers can't. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is there's always an article from MLB. They always like bring out like the top 50 trade pieces or whatever. I think we'll just review that and see what we think. I think Scooble by far and away is going to be number one. But could you see someone like a Paul Skeens?
Hmm.
The Pirates haven't won any of his last 9 starts,
Wow, I didn't
which
know
is
that.
neither did I till I read it. I was like, that doesn't sound right. They're still above 500 though. But
I think I get more and more the impression, and maybe I'm the only one. I think I'm the only one thinking this, but everyone is. But I'm more and more getting the impression that he just wants out as soon as possible because he hasn't really kicked up a fuss. But I just get the sense he's done there. He wants to go somewhere else.
the reason I think the Dodgers won't go for Scooble is because I think they've got Skeens coming. I don't know when, but that just makes sense to me on paper.
Yeah, he would suit, I think, the Dodgers personality-wise more as well than Scooble, maybe.
Take Libby Dunn with him.
Yeah, Hollywood schemes. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it time to chat about our teams?
If we have to, yeah.
Yeah. I think let's start with the Mets because I've got a few. Again, you've not been on here for a couple of weeks. We've also not done a roundup for the last couple of weeks. Carlos Mendoza sacked after David Stearns had come out and said, "Mendoza, your job's safe. Don't worry. We think it's the player's fault." What do you think? Is it deserved? Was it a bit of a shock? What were your feelings as a Mets fan?
It was a shock because I thought that if they were going to do it, they would have already done it. And I think I'd heard so much that it wasn't going to happen that finally when it did happen, it was then a surprise. I think it's really tough because everyone has so much respect for him and he was so well liked and the memories of 2024 will kind of always be there. And his record overall was about fine, but it just hit a breaking point where I think Stearns and Steve Cohen wanted to come out and say a million times that his job security was fine. He's our guy, just so on the off chance it would cause a turnaround, and then it just got to a point where it was not possible anymore. And I think you can excuse Mendy for guys like Bo Bichette just not being good or Marcus Semien not being good because that's on Stearns really. But when they were making just error after error after error and nothing seemed to be getting better, it just got to a breaking point.
But should that, because obviously I guess the game you're really talking about is because what killed Mendoza was the 4-game sweep by the Cubs. And there was that game where the infielders made 6 errors. And I guess, you brought in Marcus Semien specifically to be a defensive rock. Lindor I'm prepared to excuse because it was like his first or second game off the injured list. Vientos looked like he'd never played first base before. And I guess where I'm coming at it from is, okay, I get the decision to put Vientos at first maybe did cause some of those infield issues, but some of the grounders that Semien was mucking up on, I don't know. You can only blame the player for that. I don't, how much of that is Mendy's fault, I guess.
I think if there's a trend of guys coming here and getting worse, and maybe that's not fair because maybe there isn't a trend, and I think Stearns has to take so much of the blame for all this.
Yeah.
But when Semien just looks like he's lost out there, at the end of the day, it is kind of Mendy's job to get his confidence up and to get him believing, get him thinking in the right mindset and get him prepared properly. Like a lot of that's on the player, and Simeon's been a real disappointment. And that, he was a trade in order to dump some salary and get it off the books quicker. But, Mendy, there's only so many times he can come out after a terrible loss and be like, I really believe in these guys and we're going to get it right. And, we'll be back tomorrow and we're preparing in the right way. I think because the Mets obviously have a history of kind of firebrand managers who will just come out and say stuff and really fire the team up. And just hearing that over and over again from Mendy just must have been maddening. And I don't think it helps the players at some point for them to just be supported in front of the press. And at some point you have to kind of make a stand one way or the other.
Yeah, I think I was just shocked because after David Stearns has said, yeah, it's not his fault. I don't think it was, but sometimes a new voice is all you need. As we said before, I don't think anything has dramatically changed in the Phillies locker room between Rob Thompson and Don Mattingly, and yet they've gone from, maybe they wanted that kind of effect. We can touch on, Carson Benj, from what I hear from the leadoff spot, has been like a revelation.
Benj and AJ Ewing as well. They've really, really put a marker down, and especially Ewing probably over the past couple of weeks, and then Benj maybe the 2 weeks before that. But they just look so comfortable and so capable. And with Soto in the outfield, that is like a real thing to be excited about. Like if those guys could play for the Mets for the next like 8 years and just lock down an outfield, and that would be really exciting. They just look like they've been there and done it, and they're hard outs, which is not something you can say for most of the Mets lineup.
And then we've sort of discussed the infield already, but I guess the one I really want to touch on, Nolan McLean has kind of, it's not been great recently. He came off to a really good start and is kind of leveled out a little bit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, hit a really rough patch, I'd say, and then kind of just recently is turning it back around to being good. I think the problem with a guy like McLean is his arsenal is so big. He throws 7 pitches, and the thing about him coming into the year was that he threw all of them well. But I think sometimes with a pitcher, when you have that level of optionality, and he hasn't pitched full time for more than 3 years, I think that might be inaccurate, but he was a 2-way player. And so he's really only just coming around to being a full-time pitcher. And I think having that big an arsenal, he's I think he almost paralyzed himself in some ways, just watching him. Like he would get into jams and then not really know what to lean on, because he hadn't almost kind of rehearsed or been through that experience of like, okay, what is my routine to get out of this? Yeah. So he just didn't look comfortable, and he didn't know his way through it. But the last probably 3 or 4 starts have been a lot better. So yeah, definitely not moving him.
Yeah, I think when we ended up with David Peterson, I was like, you could have got Freddie Peralta, you could have got Nolan McLean if you really wanted to, but no, we'll take the guy with a 6.75 ERA.
Peralta has been so bad in like the past month or so. It is shocking. I think when the last time I was on the podcast, I remember saying something along the lines of, well, with Peralta, it's not going to be like exceptional, but you know what you're getting. You're going to get like a mid 3 ERA. Yeah. And since I said that, his ERA has shot up to 5, and he just looks absolutely atrocious.
Welcome to the curse of Brit Does Baseball. It's your first one where you say something nice about someone or a team, and then the exact opposite happens.
At least this happened before we extended him. That's all I'll say.
That's true. Yeah, he's not getting that extension now. Yeah, I guess I'll quickly touch on the Cubs. We've probably had the most up and down season of all of baseball. I looked at it the other day. It's like we go 7-9 to start the year, 10-game win streak. We then go on another 10-game win streak. We then lose. We go on a record of like 7-22 in 29 games in May. May was pretty bad. And then in June, like since mid-June, we're like 16-6. It's like I think we're 10 games. I think we've currently got 50 wins, 40 losses. So we're 10 games over 500. But it feels like we're 10 games under 500. It's just been so up, down, up, down. Like we beat the Brewers in Milwaukee in a series. We beat them 2-1. Then we sweep the Padres. I know they're going through some issues at the moment, but that's still a good team. And then we lose to the Cardinals. It just doesn't make sense. It's like beforehand, like we lose to the A's, we split with the Blue Jays. And then we go and sweep the Mets, and we go and, perform well against this team and that team, all whilst having a rotation made up of Shota Imanaga and the cast of the Brady Bunch. It's like, I don't know, like David Peterson, really good against Milwaukee, crap against St. Louis. It doesn't matter, the Cardinals. We pick up Bryce Wilson from the Phillies. He's really good against the Brewers. We DFA him after he gives up 7 runs after the David Peterson start. We win a game 23-1 or 23-0. I can't remember what it was. And then lose the game after by like 11 runs or 20 runs. I can't remember what it was. It just didn't make any sense. It's just absurdity. And don't get me wrong, I'm still happy we've got a winning record, but it doesn't feel like we deserve it.
The thing I wanted to ask about, because I didn't watch it, but I swore I watched a little bit of it when they played the Mets. But since we last spoke, Dansby Swanson went on one of the hottest hot streaks I've ever seen.
Yeah, he went from a below average league hitter to a slightly below average league hitter. But for those 2 weeks, it was, I don't know what it was. It must have been something he ate in New York. He just went on a home run tear because he got like 3 in that double header, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he's always had the power. It's just, yeah, again, he's very up and down. Ian Happ's very up and down. Seiya Suzuki's very up and down. We've got one superstar in PCA who has been fantastic. Got NL Player of the Month. But yeah, we just need some pitching help at the moment. It just seems like if you ever pitched any AAA ball before, you've got a chance to come into the Cubs organization, buddy. Trust me. We'll take you. We'll chuck you in the bullpen. You'll make one appearance, and then we'll DFA you. I've got a quick question before we shoot off. Maybe I'll make it a new segment. We'll make it Gaz's question of the week. There's a pitcher who you may be familiar with called Carlos Carrasco.
Yes.
Yeah. He's been in and out of the Braves system all year. I want to know from you how many times do you think Carlos Carrasco has been DFA'd by Atlanta in the last calendar year?
Ooh. This was I don't know the answer, and I'm going to get it way wrong, but this reminds me of a proposal that the players put in their latest CBA proposal around how many times clubs could DFA a single player throughout the season, especially pitchers. I'm gonna go with 8.
Close. 7. He's been DFA'd 7 times by the Atlanta Braves this year.
That's just brutal.
Here we go. From June, this is June 14th. Okay. Atlanta Braves signed Carlos Carrasco to a minor league contract. He made it to the Braves on the 17th of June. He was DFA'd on the 24th of June. He then signed again on June the 27th. He got called up on July the 5th, and he got DFA'd on July the 6th. So he's been DFA'd twice in 2 months. In less than a month, sorry.
God. It's hard to feel sorry for these guys because, Carrasco's been in the league a long time, and he's made a lot of money, and he's had a good career. But it must be brutal just to have to pack your bags and then pack your bags again, and then it's just such a weird life.
Well, the Braves used to do it with I think he's actually retired now, but there was Jesse Chavez. He got DFA'd like 6 or 7 times by him, the guy with the glasses. Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's just a Braves thing. I don't know, or maybe they just enjoy it. Maybe he enjoys it. Maybe he's like I don't want to say he's a bit of a sadist on the podcast because it's probably not going to go down well. But maybe he just enjoys getting DFA'd. I don't know.
There's every chance. Maybe he just he wants to get his air miles up. That's it.
That's a good one, actually. I'm not trying to shame him or anything. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just like maybe he just knows his role now. He's 39. He's got an ERA of 7. Maybe he just accepts I'm going to eat some innings and then I'm on the plane again back to home or back to AAA Gwinnett. I don't know. Yeah, bit of a weird one. I think that's it for this Rounders Roundup. What a lovely podcast.
Yeah, I've had a great time. I feel like I've missed a lot, and now I'm all caught up again.
Yeah, and if you're ever in a position where you're listening to this and don't know what's happening in the world of baseball, then just give these a listen. It's a roundup from the last 2 weeks, British style. Yeah.
This has been great. Thanks everyone for listening. Feel free to give a recommendation to a friend or a like or a subscribe. Do people say that still? I don't know. I'm following a script here.
Yeah, I think they do. Did you say you're not following a script, are you?
No. I wish I was.
Yeah, no. I wish we could afford that as well. No, like and subscribe us. Recommend us to your friend. Yeah, we say it once a month, so you've probably done that for July now.
There we go.
Next 3 appearances, we don't have to plug anything.
Perfect. Well, it's been great to hang out, guys. Thanks very much, and we will see you all again next time for the Roundup.